is the topic is misandry. Why women hate men. All right.
Oh dear.
All right. So I need to stream it. 1 second.
This should be actually really good.
Would you like me to explain why?
All right. Stream is live.
Would you like me to explain why women hate men?
Nope. So the format of this class, thank you for joining us, Ebenezer, but the format of this class is we are going to watch a 10 to 15 minute clip and then we will have discussion after. So please hold your questions until the end.
I don't have questions, I have the facts. But all
I
good.
understand. You can share that at the end.
Cool.
All right, everybody in? We have 4 people in the live stream. We have 6 people in the live stream. Ebenezer, would you like to join us?
Yeah, sure. What do I do?
Just watch the live stream.
Uh, what's this shit?
All right, we're ready? Here we go.
Hello, I'm Karen Seitz, the happiness expert, and welcome to the Happy Wife School. Today, I want to talk about misandry, the fall of women. And the reason I want to talk about this is recently I came across an online influencer named Spencer Barbosa, who is only 20 years old. She has almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube, a million followers on Instagram, a huge following on TikTok. If you type in the word misogyny into the YouTube search bar, her video is the first to pop up with almost 5 million views. And it's videos like this that make me really, really sad because it's a great example of how buying into the ideology of modern day feminism continues to breed misandry, the hatred and contempt toward men. It is something that is embedded in our culture. It's become acceptable and even glorified. You can see it in movies like the Barbie movie that just came out. You can see it in television shows. You can see it in news articles and obviously influencers across social media. And I want us to know as women that there's another option and there's another perspective in 2023 in the Western world to see that we are not oppressed and held back by men, and why continuing to believe that is hurting us. It's holding us back in life, and it's preventing us from having healthy relationships with men. So we're going to look into the why of misandry in our culture. And I want to give you the same option that I received to see things in a different light so that you can thrive and be the best version of yourself, so that you can evolve into a real woman who is happy and believes in herself and realizes that there's nothing and no one holding you back. And I want us to realize that as long as we continue to buy into modern day feminism and believe that men are our oppressor and men are our enemy, that it's impossible to have a healthy, loving marriage or relationship with a man. So first, let's take a look at this short clip from this online influencer. The purpose of showing this clip is really, it's clear to me the amount of misandry and hatred that she has in talking about misogyny in our culture. I want to see if you see it too, and then that will be our jumping off point to talk about misandry, why it's so rampant, and what to do about it.
Okay, these are some things that are super misogynistic that you probably have never even realized before. And it needs to stop. When guys only respect women that they find attractive. The fact that being called too girly is an insult, but if a guy is too manly, it's praised. You should really smile more. The fact that I literally can't go out alone when it's nighttime. Also, I'm not hating on men or blaming men or anything. I'm literally just stating the facts, and it's pathetic.
Yikes. It's clear to me. Is it clear to you? The hatred that she has in herself as she's talking about this. And it's not just her. Like I said, this is glorified and we see it all over the place. This is just a really good example of it. And so what I really want us to understand, and why I want to talk about this, why it relates to being a happy wife, is I had a dumb moment when I realized that being a feminist and buying into feminist ideology, that I'm somehow unequal to a man in 2023. And really when this became apparent to me, it was about 2015. So almost 10 years ago. This is the dumb moment I want us to have, ladies. Can you recognize that if consciously or unconsciously we're breeding hatred towards men by believing that they're our oppressor and they're our enemy? Doesn't it make sense if we hate men, we can't have a healthy marriage with a man or a healthy relationship with a man? It's impossible. And so it was really, really important for me to have my cognitive dissonance broken, to recognize there was nobody holding me back. There was no glass ceiling, that there's no patriarchy. And that as a white woman when I realized all this in 2015 and now 2023, living in America, that I can go out and be whoever I want. I can do whatever I want, and there's no one stopping me. When I had that cognitive dissonance broken, it was a profound life-changing moment for me. It opened the doorway for me to have a healthy, loving relationship with my husband. It opened the doorway for me to stop being a victim and giving my power and control away to this ideology and holding myself back in my life. And I want you, if you are still buying into modern day feminism and that you are somehow oppressed, I'd like for you to have the same awakening that I had and see things differently so that you can set yourself free. Why do we have such misandry, the hate and contempt for men in our culture? What we need to understand is that the foundation of hatred is oppression. And continuing to buy into modern day feminism continues to make us believe that we are oppressed, which breeds hatred. What I had to learn and what I had to see for myself is that I can only hate someone if I have hatred within myself. And that's what I learned when I let go of believing in modern day feminism and I began to see things a different way, is recognizing that men were not my oppressor. I had become my oppressor by believing and buying into the myth that I am oppressed. I wanted the excuse. I wanted a reason to not rise above my own limitations and go out and make a life for myself and make something of me. So I used the excuse of modern day feminism to believe that men were my enemy, which in doing so made me a victim and I was my oppressor. So ladies, men are not your oppressor. You are your oppressor. By using something like feeling unequal to a man or that men are your enemy to hide in life, to play small, and to not go out and make something of yourself. And that's exactly what I had done. When we can recognize that, that's when we can change and realize that we can go out and be who we want to be and do anything we want to do. 10% of the Fortune 500 companies, their CEOs are women in male dominated industries like engineering and tech. We have a female vice president. We had a female in 2016 win the popular vote in the presidential election. I have a good friend who's a super on a construction site. I have a client who owns and runs a construction company and owns one of the top interior design firms in Denver. We're not oppressed anymore. And it's believing that we are oppressed that we become our own oppressors to hold ourselves back. And in that, we hate ourselves for all that we're not doing. And we project that hate onto men. And again, as long as we hate men, we can't have a healthy relationship. We can't have a healthy, loving marriage. So what's the solution? My solution was I had to realize that the experience of myself and the life I had created was because of my own choices and decisions, that nothing had happened to me. And when I could see that it was my choices and decisions that had created the experience of myself in my life, then I could do something about it. Then I was actually empowered because I could begin making different choices and different decisions to create myself and create the life that I wanted. It means that we have to take responsibility for ourselves, that I am where I am today because of my choices and decisions, not what has happened to me. And the reason we want to do this as women is, and what happened for me that was just incredible, was I began to see my husband in a completely different light. I began to see how thoughtful and kind and generous he was and other good men are. And it took off this veil of seeing men through misandry and the contempt and hate that had built up in me by buying into modern day feminism. And there's nothing in me that feels held back, that feels that there's some invisible glass ceiling or some invisible patriarchy rigging the system. It's all up to me. Ladies, it's all up to you. And this is something you want to realize in yourself and recognize so that you can have a healthy, loving marriage with your husband or have a healthy, loving relationship with a man, because it can't happen if we have misandry and we hate men. If you enjoyed this video today, please take a second to hit the thumbs up below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so that you're notified when I put new content out. If you know someone who would enjoy this video or benefit from watching it, please share it. I'm excited to get my message out and to instill hope in women and men that we can have healthy relationships. Men watching, I want you to know there are plenty of women out there like me who want to see these things, who want to grow and evolve as women, who want to have healthy, loving relationships with men. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.
Hooray!
I hope
All
she
right.
has like the nicest family ever did.
Discussion time. So thoughts?
Yeah, I think she's absolutely correct.
Based?
She's awesome. She's amazing when it comes to her persuasive ability too, because what she's saying is truth. And truth is usually persuasive, not always though.
So why do you think women hate men?
Didn't she just explain it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they hate
It's-
themselves.
Exactly. It seems to be one of those psychological defenses, right, that people use in order to how do I say this? Protect their egos or like their conception of themselves by not pursuing this and saying, "Oh, this is the problem. This is inherent within this," so they can pass the blame and the buck onto something. It seems.
They've just been told to. Society's pushing them to hate their fellow man, and they're trying to be all girl bosses and all this gay shit, and it's just, yeah, it's a damn shame.
It sucks. It sucks. It sucks to
Women
see.
have always been the ones that bear the child. They've always been the ones that stay home and look after the kid, and now they're trying to force women to go out and work and do all this gay shit that they shouldn't really be doing. And when women
Or
do end
signing
up
up
doing it,
to
it ends up being a lot worse.
Yeah, like the
And
signing up to OnlyFans, because if you sign up to OnlyFans or you do any of these things, like your potential candidates for a husband, right, have dropped like 60%. Like the good guys have now said, no, I'm never going to marry somebody that has had an OnlyFans account or something like this. Like your marriage options go down, they dwindle drastically over things like that, right? And I just don't want to see my daughter to ever go through that. I don't have a daughter, but if I do, I don't want to see them go through that at
Yeah.
all. My cousins, right, that are girls, I don't want to see them go through that whatsoever. I want them to be prized, right? Usually, women are naturally born with a sense of value because of their bodies naturally, but men are forced to like generate value. They're forced to generate and go find that value and to generate it. So that's kind of the distinction here between like the roles there. Ancients categorize this as the sun and the moon. Funny enough, the moon doesn't have any light of its own because it has to connect itself to something substantial. It's a receiving force. It receives light.
What do you think about like what is it about women that choose not to empower themselves, but rather try to take that power away from their man? What do you think is at the root of that? Why are they doing that? Like an unhealthy woman, you know what I mean?
Right. Usually, self-destructive tendencies are a result of psychological complexes, right, formed at early childhood, and that
So you
still
think it's
happen
more
into the
trauma
adult life.
related? Do you think that
Yeah.
there's anything more biologically determinate about that?
Biologically, I couldn't give you an exact gene letter combination in order to back that up. I don't know when it comes to the hardware. The software, I know it's definitely a phenomenon in the software ankle. I can talk about the software. I'm sure you could talk about the software too if you actually just
Right.
start thinking about it, right? Um, but like the hardware, yeah, the hardware is a completely different wheelhouse. We're getting into hard sciences where I would have to give you like the exact code, which I don't have access to.
I would say,
I can talk about like their limbic systems, right? I can talk about how a woman's limbic system is bigger on average, and their emotional intelligence is bigger on average, more so. They experience more depth of emotions
I would
because of that
disagree with
limbic system.
I would disagree with intelligence. That's yeah, I don't know about that.
Maybe not intelligence, but more so depth of emotion, being able to understand, being able to feel said emotions, because they have a bigger
Oh, yeah.
limbic system. So, which does lead to being able to understand or be able to see different emotional patterns that other men can't see necessarily, or it goes over their head. This is because of the hard biology, the alchemy, right? The alchemy of a woman, literally. I don't say that in a crude sense either. It's literally their internal alchemy is different because God made them that way.
Hmm. So you feel like they're more biologically determined to be perceptive of their emotions?
Yes, I think the like a woman's limbic system is genuinely bigger than mine on
Okay.
average. Like it's just like you can't defeat those facts at all. And they happen to be better supportive characters for emotional roles. Like I find, at least from my uh, what do you call that, story evidence from what I've seen.
Any correlators you'd like to make based on that deterministic principle for how that affects misandry, if we understand misandry as behavior to
You could
take the power away from their other men?
Yeah, you can maybe draw a correlation between spitefulness, right? Holding on to a particular emotional slight, like if they've been emotionally slighted or something like this, to hold on to that and let it bake and fume for a little bit longer.
But
Or to be able to enact more emotional trauma on anybody that causes them discomfort because they have more depth of emotion, hence why they can exploit more emotion because they have more depth of, of feeling of it. So they can manipulate it more. They have the ability to do that. It's in their wheelhouse.
I feel like this is all really in response to them not being willing to be dependent on a man or anyone out of fear of being or feeling vulnerable and exposing themselves to potential pain that comes from like opening yourself up like that, being dependent on someone else. So like even like that dependency, they want to have complete control. They want to have power and control their realities. And the only way that really can happen is if they close themselves off completely and ultimately use the man for as like a tool to achieve their ultimate,
Yep,
gain.
exactly.
So
And this isn't just with her husband, right? This will be with their kids as well simultaneously. If the daughter, for example, is younger, right, and is, for example, and the mother's older and she's losing her beauty, there seems to be a sense uh, like of a lower nature kicking in, saying, "Hey, have you ever heard of the story of Rapunzel or the story of Cinderella? How she was locked up by the mom, essentially in the castle because of her beauty." Well, they call that the witch mother. That's what they call it within like the
Okay.
psychological script idea. It's where the mother is so jealous of her daughter's beauty and her youth, right? Envies her youth that she tries to lock her up, tries to not let her have fun and go outside and not to explore the open world, right? Because of that envy, that jealousy, that spite.
mhm,
Hmm.
that does happen. And sometimes it's not even just that. In like families that have gotten divorced and have started new families, right? But you'll have a kid from the first marriage. They'll end up leaving and abandoning that first child for by reason to completely start fresh. Even
Yeah.
looking at that daughter who looks like the man that she hates in ways they don't even want to be reminded of that entire experience, and they end
Yeah,
up
that's
abandoning the
terrible.
kid and pawning them off to their grandparents or something. It is sad.
Yeah, that's true though. Like the qualia is true. Like Daniel Tosh even made a joke about that qualia, right? Where he says, imagine getting divorced with a woman, right? And looking at your kid and seeing half a thing you hate all the time, right? I'm like, dang, that actually sucks. That actually sucks to look at it in terms of your kid in terms of like thatness, right? I'm
Yeah,
like, that's a
but
rough, it's a rough view.
it is out of immaturity, even on the adult's part. But eventually, I know in some cases they do. The mother does want to reconcile with the child and come back to them, and they just wise up, you know. So there's happy endings. It doesn't just go on forever being awful.
Right. But the patterns do exist, and we are patterned individuals. We can be profiled and indexed, right? Psychologically profiled and indexed. You're not really different, right? I thought I was different, being an atheist and kicking open nihilism at a young age, right? Then I read the Book of Ecclesiastes. Then I realized Solomon already beat me to it. I'm like, oh, damn, well, I'm not that smart. Okay,
Yes, they did
A
beat
Jew
us
would
to
literally
it.
beat me to it.
That's
A
so
Jew
true.
already beat me to it, dude. So I'm like,
I
okay, nihilism route. I thought it was pretty a novel coming up with that at the age of like I don't know, like 10. Oh, like oh yeah, nothing matters. Oh yeah, I'm a monkey. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And then I read the Book of Ecclesiastes. I'm like, oh fuck. He nailed it. He nails it. He already kicks open the same pattern. And I'm like, okay, I'm not that different. So it turns out I could be categorized and indexed, right? Because the human condition could be categorized and indexed. It can be mapped out. And you're already mapped out. You're no different. Quit saying you're separate.
So you're saying that you used to be a wise ape, huh?
Yeah, I thought of myself as a wise ape back in the day. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, huh? I'm like, oh, I thought I was on the right track to something. I'm like, yeah, like maybe our soul doesn't rise up. What happens if it does go down the ground? What happens if we're just like the animal, dude? Then I'm like reading. I'm like, oh,
You guys,
damn, dude, a Jew beat me to it. Fudge, man.
do you guys reckon that feminism is destroying women themselves? They're their own worst enemy. Like them trying to push being fucking. We don't need no man. Men are the sole reason for women suffering, all that nonsense and all that shit. Do you think that in itself is causing women to be unhappy?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I
I
it's
think
think
kind of
it.
like
I think a big hold on. I do think a big poison is when women is like, I don't want to have any kids. I don't want to be a mother, even though like that God designed them to be mothers. and they don't regret their decisions for not being mothers.
It bears out in the statistics. The more educated a woman is, the less likely she is to reproduce.
Yeah, they have a misunderstanding of what power and authority is. Like they try to mimic what a man is, right? But
That's what they
they
find
don't get
psychology telling you.
respect. Yeah, they come off like condescending as if this is like an
Yeah.
assertion of like power. Like they completely lack grace and they do it all wrong. They have no
Yeah.
self-control. Which
Yeah,
is
this
like
is 100% true. They
you
actually
see it
find
so
this in
often.
psychology, and when they did a couple experiments on this, right, and also too looking at the data, like women, when it comes to being in positions of power, their power, how do I say this, demeanor is incredibly mimicked, right? It's mimicked from other figures, male figures of their past, right, or people that they looked up to. It's completely mimicked, right? They don't got that natural dog within them. It's non-intuitive with them when
Well,
it comes
they
to
have
these
to
things.
appeal to their words more than anything because they are weaker, just even physically. So that's like their strength, I think, is to be domineering in their words and impose that authority over men and things like that. But it just comes off cringe and silly in the end.
Yeah, it is. It is, dude.
Imagine having a female president.
Oh, dude. I was so worried for a second, dude. I was worried. I was. I was like, I'm about to move out of the United States because family structures will change after that. Like your wife's gonna be telling you to take out the trash at least 3 more times a day, and to clean the dishes, and to do more things around the house. If there was a female president, like the whole family structures would change subconsciously. Like that for a fact that would happen.
The Freemasons wouldn't allow it. It was never going to happen.
Oh yeah, thank God. I love them for that, dude. God bless them. Like that is actually God's work there. I respect them if they actually did that, and they were the cause of that.
But do women actually want to be girl bosses though? Do they really want it? Like I don't think they do. I think that they're being told that that's what they should want. But in
Right.
reality, what like more what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, bro. I think black women do. Black women actually really want that, which I'm really.
Mm,
That's why.
yeah, go on.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think that or even black women, because they've been told their whole life that they've been, the white man is a fucking destroyed their lives and we should all hate the white man and all that sort of shit. That they've just sort of been grown into a sort of role of thinking we need to be in control, we need power, we don't want the white man to take it away. We're not going to stand up for this abuse, this misogyny that we've experienced, and this racial sort of bullshit that they've been pushing. It's like, well, in reality, I don't think black women really want to work. I think they're just being told since they're born, even by their parents, that the white man is going to take everything away from them, and they've already taken everything away from them. So I don't think so. I think deep in their bones they don't want it. Obviously, it'll probably come off more like they do, but at the end of the day, they're women. Like women don't want to fucking work. They want to be. They want to have children. They are. It's inherent. It's like you're saying, the more of an education they have, the less likely they are to have children because the education they're being taught is that women have had fucking no rights, all this sort of shit. When it's like, well, in reality, women didn't even want those sort of burdens. Now their feminist movement is taking it upon itself to force them to have these burdens that men have, and is making them unhappy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and then it leads to like the vicious circle of blaming men for the feelings that of being overwhelmed or not being able to be a woman that they have.
Yeah, and like even just the other day, I was being told, "Oh, why would you want to be a woman?" And I'm like, well, yeah, these days I actually kind of wouldn't want to be, but back in old times, like you didn't have to work, you could do one of the most fulfilling things in the world, which is raising your child. Like you just be a caregiver, like raise your child, stay at home, do whatever you like, see your girlfriends, all that sort of shit. Now they're being told, no, you got to work, you got to do all this shit, and women don't want to do that. They're being told they do, but it's literally had the polar opposite effect. This is feminism, and it's making them unhappy. Like what do men really like, do you want to be doing the most bullshit jobs ever? No, you don't, but you do it anyway because it's in your fucking inherent. It's like in your fucking soul that you got to do those things to provide for your family. Women don't have that, but they're being told that they should, and it's making them unhappy. It's fucking, they're their own worst enemy. This whole feminist bullshit. So in reality, it's more misogynistic to be a feminist than
Yeah.
it is to not be a feminist, really, because you're making women unhappy by pushing this fucking bullshit.
You
Well,
could
I
you
mean,
could
I
actually
mean, I mean,
reprogram them with the
I,
television.
I mean, I do like to break up feminism into different waves for sure. I am that fucking guy that does break it off into waves in different like eras, right? Where like, hey, I do believe like I shouldn't be able to beat the shit out of my wife. Like I
Oh,
think
of
that should
course.
be
Yeah.
that's like basic level feminism I can get behind, right? Like okay,
Yeah.
like maybe they should be equal, like in some, yeah, for sure, but like not have like the same equal social roles. The social roles should be incredibly fucking different, as they always have been, and they should always be in general. But yeah, I shouldn't. I don't
I
believe I
don't
should
know.
be able to beat the shit out of my wife or to be able to like have actual power and control over them.